Welcome to Geoscientists Voices. Our guest today is Dr. Lizette Leon-Rodriguez, a biostratigrapher and certified carbon management leader with over a decade of experience in the energy industry. She is also my AGU Voices for Science cohort member. Lizette has just returned from the Breaking Boundaries expedition in Antarctica, where she joined an international team of women explorers to study the front lines of our changing climate. We are joining her in Ushuaia, Argentina, not far away from the Martial Glacier, to discuss her work with the phytoplankton in the Southern Ocean, her passion to inspire Spanish speaking schoolchildren in Colombia and Spain, and her first hand insights from the ice. Thank you for joining me, Lizette.
Hello, Alexi. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. This is my last day in Ushuaia, Argentina. I returned to shore a day ago, and I'm here happy to answer your questions.
Lizette, can you describe exactly where you're standing right now and what your office view looks like today? And please give us a quick update on what exactly you're researching and what your current progress is.
Well, I am currently sitting very high up in Ushuaia, very close to the glacier that is called Mount Martial Glacier. Um, I'm living in Ushuaia in a couple of hours, but I wanted to come here to see a little bit of the nature again. I also have a little bit of the view of the city from here, but I thought this was way more scenic for our conversation. A quick update. Well, as I said before, I returned a day ago. I was doing mostly a project that I kind of crafted for scientific communication. I think Voices for Science, the ATU program for the international cohort has helped me to shape this. I wanted to create a few videos that were kind of short and concise for the general public, but also for kids, in order to understand a little better Antarctica and why we should care about Antarctica, a place that is so far for most of us, and that I'm privileged that I was able to visit this summer over here. So I have been collecting plankton, recording and documenting the plankton that I have been able to collect in different parts of the Southern Ocean. So I went to the Falklands, from Falklands to South Georgia, from South Georgia to the Orkney Islands, and then to the Peninsula Antarctica per se. So I collected different samples. It's not research per se because I didn't have the permission to collect these samples and bring them with me. But I was able to capture the plankton in every single site. And my idea is that at some point I'm going to create like a full map showing all the plankton that you have in these different areas, and also to show how this plankton is so important to sustain life in this part of the planet, and why this is so important as a carbon, as a way to capture carbon as well.
You recently shared a post about a gear setback and how you immediately pivoted to plankton sampling.
I made a post about a setback in the very beginning of my trip or my excursion to Antarctica. That was because I brought the wrong fins. I brought this wrong snorkel mask, and also lost a brand new Insta 365 that it was one of the best resources that I have for video. So what happened is that I brought fins that were too small in order to fit your feet when you have a dry suit. And then I brought a full mask snorkel that when you actually put inside with the part of your gear for cold water, the water leaks because it's not made in the same way. So it was quite stressful to see everybody getting in for the first time in Saunders Island in the Falklands, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't because my math was not correct, my year wasn't correct, and I didn't check that before because it was my first time wearing this kind of dry suit that is especially made for polar regions. And not only that, when I was getting into new things that someone shared with me, my brand new Insta got caught in the fins and it flipped in the water, and I tried to grab it, and as soon as I grabbed it, my water got inside the mask, and it was such a mess. I was a little panicky because the water got in right immediately, and I wasn't expecting that, so I couldn't breathe. And I tried to grab the camera, and it was extremely disappointed, scary in the moment, and I got so mad at myself that I almost want to cry again. But at that moment, you have to enjoy what you have. I mean, I'm in Sunderside Bay. I needed to change my mindset right away because otherwise I would be so super stressed out and very sad. And indeed, I was probably hit quite hard emotionally that day. But I had my plankton net with me. I had a bucket. I had something to collect the plankton. So I started like collecting plankton and trying to reinvent myself in the moment, while most of the snorkelers were actually enjoying swimming with penguins and seeing a few fur seals as well. But I can tell you that in the moment I was able to adapt, and my brain was like, okay, I need to do something. I cannot just stay here and I'm feeling ashamed because I didn't bring the right gear. But later that day, I was actually so emotional that I ended up crying a little bit. And I am glad that I had a few of my team members that came to support me. And later in the excursion in Antarctica, I was able to buy a new Insta and find a new way to create videos. That's what I wanted to do.
Why is adaptability the most important tool for a geoscientist in the field?
I think because we are actually dealing with something that is not static, like air is always changing, that is always in constant and dynamic flow in different kind of settings, like water or wind or the clouds or plate tectonics and how the magma is moving. Everything is in constant movement. I will say that geologists has to have that kind of plasticity to be able to capture scientific knowledge or the beauty of the nature in the moment, despite of what is changing. In my case, it was like when I had that kind of setback and I lost my gear, and I was so upset. I needed to kind of like, hey, no, I came here to enjoy the moment and be present. Let's try to see what I can do.
Wow, thank you so much for this insight. Lizette, you've spent much of your career studying ancient oceans through microscopic foraminifera. So, how does it feel to finally be in the middle of the modern Southern Ocean, the macro version of the systems you've analyzed under a microscope for years?
Well, it has been quite interesting because I wasn't expecting to see much foraminifera in the plankton because it's too cold even for summer. Sometimes planting foraminifera actually can make it too far south, but at least in the plankton that I was collecting, I wasn't able to collect any planktonic foraminifera. And indeed, it's quite different from what I usually see. I work on projects that lead me to foraminifera that live in the oceans millions and millions of years ago. So it's more than 100 million years ago sometimes. So being able to see plankton from here, like living plankton, was super cool. I was so honored because I also got to see diatoms, and diatoms are primary producers, and so you can see the cells, and you can see the chloroplast and all the shapes and the symmetry. Diatoms are absolutely perfect, very beautiful, but it's very far from the kind of plankton that I studied. So I'm so glad that I had the support of someone that it was a phytoplankton expert of recent diatoms, and she was able to teach me a little bit more about these diatoms, forms that were quite different from the forms that I used to learn when I was grad student in terms of diatoms. And also I could see them, even because they are so happy at this moment of the year. They create these chains, and they look like crystals in the water, green crystals in the water. So I was swimming with diatoms, seeing them in the microscope, under the microscope. So it was absolutely different and exciting, because I was seeing in real time the water column that usually I study from millions and millions of years ago.
As a certified carbon management leader, what is the one thing about Antarctica's role in the global climate cycle that you wish the general public understood better?
I wish people would understand better that Antarctica, for example, is not only the place where you have major ice sheets, it's not only the place of penguins, it's not only the place of whales, it's not this exotic place. It's actually a place where major blooms of algae happen, like diatoms. So it's because of all of these blooms were actually sinking carbon, and we should care about this kind of environments. Why? Because it's not only about reducing emissions, it's also about kind of helping the environment to have the natural sinks to continue. Like, for example, over here I have trees and plants. All of those are contributing to the carbon sink. So I would like people to understand a little bit better that it's not only about reducing emission, but also caring about those things that work well for us to contribute to the climate to be more or less stable, despite of what we have been doing since the industry revolution.
Thank you so much for this very interesting answer. Uh, Lizette, you're sailing with a remarkable group of women explorers. What has been the most inspiring part of this specific collaboration so far?
I think the most remarkable experience was able to see how we were able to put together an expedition uh, despite all the different challenges that we had in the last 2 months prior to the expedition. We were not able to bring the ROV that we originally wanted to bring. Also, I was not able to collect the sediment sample that I initially thought that I would collect in Deception Island, because unfortunately the chief scientist of the expedition could not come, and the permit was under her name, and we couldn't transfer to another person. So there were many setbacks. However, we were able to put a cohesive plan at the end. Some team members were able to find a new ROV. We were able to share the other ideas that we had for the trip. For example, in my case, it was also about scientific communication. So I was able to put together a little bit of the different profiles of the women that I was in, and I started highlighting the different profiles of of specialties and what they do, and the leadership that they carry out in their own fields. And I have been highlighting that as part of my communication piece in Instagram. So I think that by that I was able to see how women can actually collaborate together and create something that is more meaningful. So I think that's the highlight of this trip.
It sounds truly inspiring. And speaking about inspiration, you're passionate about bringing this journey to Spanish speaking school children. What is the main message you want a student in Colombia or Spain to take away from seeing you in Antarctica?
The main thing that I wanted to highlight is that kids can dream and they can fulfill their dreams. My dream was always to be a scientist and communicate to others the knowledge that I have been able to receive or to learn through my own experience. So I wanted to show that from that kind of perspective that you can always dream and you can always be something if you really want to get to commit to that kind of dream. On the other side, I also wanted children to be more in contact with a place that it seems so far away. Also, because if we don't, we see ice as something kind of distant, like the ice shelves and all of that. We see it as a very distant topic. And I wanted to bring that like something that no, I mean, this is something that we should care about. This is not an area that's so far away. No, it's actually closer because it affects climate. It affects how our sea levels are going to rise in the next next year. So it's kind of caring about an environment that sometimes we see it so abstract, so far away. So in order for me to do that was showing them that a person like me can still go travel, see with my own eyes in this case, how life and climate is changing in real time. Hopefully this kind of help them to realize about the importance of Antarctica.
And finally, for early career geoscientists who want to follow in your footsteps, bridging high level industry expertise with a passion for exploration, what is the best piece of advice you can give to them?
In my case, I think that in my career, or I'm a biostratigrapher in an industry, the oil and gas industry, and I think we are actually going through a transition in the energy environment, the energy industry. So I think in my case, I always follow my dreams. I always follow this passion for my micropaleontology, and I think because of that passion, I was able to, and also because my commitment as well to science, I was able to open doors that I thought in the beginning that wouldn't be open for me. So I will advise early career scientists that to find that thing that actually they care about the most and open the doors based on that passion. I think have been obviously very privileged. I think in the sense that through my career, different doors have opened to me. But it happened to me coming from I would say humble beginnings. It can happen to anyone. So, to your scientists, please focus on what is coming next for the Earth. Maybe mining, maybe going into nuclear. Maybe it's about rare minerals. Maybe it's about finding actually ways to to capture carbon in a more efficient way. Maybe it's about discovering yourself in a different way. Instead of being a geologist per se, you become an oceanographer or those kind of things. So I will also advise or to tell early career scientists not to be narrow in what you do and explore other areas that maybe you don't feel comfortable with, like for example going to computer science, maybe exploring something that is beyond what they expected in the beginning, because that opens your mind and also allows you to connect your work in a different way.
Thank you, Lizette, for sharing your perspective following your journey to Antarctica. Your work highlights the impact of international collaboration among women in science and the vital importance of making polar research accessible to the next generation of students in Colombia, Spain, and elsewhere.
Thank you, Alexi. I hope you can listen to me quite well. I have a lot of noise because of the water that I have here. This is a marvelous place. It's the water that is the melt from the glacier that I have above. That I don't think that you can see. But in the background, I actually have a very big mountain and a glacier. Thank you for providing me the platform to talk about what I'm doing, to talk about carbon cycle, to talk about leadership for women. And it has been a pleasure also to get to know you through the AGU International Cohort for Voices of Science.
Thank you, Lizette, and to our viewers. Thank you for watching. To follow Lizette's mission and see more stories from the field, please check the links in the description and subscribe to the Geoscientists Voices YouTube channel. And please remember that it is often the smallest forces, from the plankton in our oceans to the curiosity of a child, that drive the greatest changes for our planet. We'll see you in the next video.